Thank you very much, Saritza. I'm going to invite Dick de Man, who is from the CBI in the Netherlands, a very key partner of ITC in a number of ways. And Dick, of course, has been part of the team working on tourism for a number of years, and I look forward to his remarks in this regard. Dick, welcome.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Indeed, CBI and ITC have been close partners for a couple of decades, and the collaboration has even increased, have become more intensified. Patricia has asked me, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to share our observations of the past 2 days and to look at it from our perspective. And that our perspective is the one of the CBI. It's a Dutch agency of the Netherlands government promoting exports from developing countries to Europe. That is our business. We've been doing that for more than 40 years. The purpose is to contribute to sustainable economic development through export development and export promotion. What we do in practice is to strengthen the competitive position of exporters for the European market, strengthen their institutions, so that in the end the institutions can take care of the work and can prepare them for entering European markets. And tourism has been one of the sectors for many decades in which we have been active. What we've been doing is to bring tour operators to the European Union. At this moment, to give you an impression, we are serving some 280 tour operators from our client countries, hotel accommodation suppliers, and community-based tourism projects to enter the European markets, and that for 37 countries. But okay, our observation, the perspective of what we have heard in the past 2 days. Pascal Lamy said a very true thing. Tourism is what everybody knows, and it seems simple, but tourism is a very complex system. He was very right, and that is also our experience. Tourism development requires an all-embracing, and inclusive approach. Tourism, and that is clear, is an industry that has a huge potential to contribute to sustainable economic development and to really reach the poor if we make the right choices. But to tap that potential, that requires the responsibility of all players, both government and the private sector. And what does that mean? That is, the role of the state is first and foremost to develop a coherent policy framework led by a focused strategy. It requires leadership, it requires priority, it requires dedication. Half-heartedly, a country would never manage to accomplish that goal. We've heard some very good examples in the past few days of Rwanda and Turkey and others. Mauritius is a very good case, Uganda. So the role of the state, coherent policy, but also a proactive private sector, including the involvement of the local communities right from the beginning. But ladies and gentlemen, the point that I would like to make today, my point, the CBI point, where it should all start, is sometimes or often forgotten. That is the market. The market is the driver for this growth. The market is the driver for tapping the development potential. And it seems obvious, but our practice of decades is different. Tourism development is often done in splendid isolation. Infrastructures are built, inward and backward linkages are all in place, communities involved, but the wrong projects in the wrong place, at the wrong time. The result is low return on investments and no contribution to poverty reduction. A small example of that to illustrate this case, CBI was requested to assist a community-based tourism project somewhere in Africa. Local communities were stimulated to build accommodations and infrastructure near a cultural heritage central point on an island. When we went there, we had to conclude that it was built on the wrong side of the island. They hadn't looked at it from the perspective of the tourist. They had built the accommodation away from the villages, away from the beaches, somewhere in a place where tourists wouldn't be able to stand more than one night. So this could be the result, and this could be a nice illustration of the following. So what it requires is policymakers that are well informed to develop market-relevant tourism products. Informed choices, with an eye for inclusive development. And from that informed position, and from that informed policy, based on market-driven considerations, then enter into public-private partnerships with the private sector, and then cultivate the entrepreneurship of the private sector, to facilitate them, and to give them direction, to achieve the targets that your country wants to achieve, that is sustainable economic development and poverty alleviation. But that also requires to serve the tourism private sector, well-functioning tourist boards. My experience is that 80% of the tourist boards are very weak because they have no human resources, no finances, just a small office that has this huge task of serving the community. Being informed also requires, and to facilitate the private sector, means a very targeted, segmented approach to reach the generating markets. Even well-developed markets in the Middle East, I won't mention the countries. If I talk to the policymakers and the Ministry of Tourism, then they even today have a very generic approach. Come to my country, come to Jordan, come to Egypt. Welcome. But not paying attention to the enormous riches that the country has, the culture, without implementing policies that are very segmented for the cultural tourism, for the nature tourism, for active sports, for religious tourism. That is what is needed, a segmented policy and a segmented approach, both on the level of the tourist boards, and both on the level of, and also on the level of the tour operators. Our experience is also that when national policies are made, that consideration is made for the regional perspective. Packages with neighboring countries are a precondition, often, more often than not, to get the maximum out of tourism. We had very good examples in developing, in getting the tour operators in the countries in the Silk Route or in East Africa, joining together with an integrated approach for the markets. Facilitating the private sector, then I'm coming to an end, is also to support them in implementing corporate social responsibility standards. It is, as you all are aware, no longer a niche. It has become mainstream, but at the same time, everybody is faced with private standards that are all different. All the different countries, different private standards, different tour operators, different standards. How to approach that is to first create awareness and at the same time discover the commonalities of all these standards and help the private sector to meet those commonalities. So a sort of compatible standards so that they can easily switch and comply to the different private standards. And move into partnerships, initiatives like Rainbow Alliance, Travel Life. And last but not least, and with that I would like to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, tourism is a complex business, but you don't have to do it alone. There are implementing agencies like ITC and the wonderful one donor approach that has been achieved recently, which is very encouraging that this can work. But also agencies like CBI with so many decades of experience can support you in that, in providing solutions, in making tourism work for the good, for the benefit of development. But never forget, ladies and gentlemen, that the key driver is the market. Thank you.